Hello, 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 testing. All right, looks like the mic's working. What's up, YouTube? My name is Brian Morrison. Back, another weekly live coding stream. This is my second time now on YouTube. Last week we built a coding Discord bot, or built a Discord bot. I was coding a Discord bot, you know, whatever. Today I'm doing something entirely different, and kind of different because I've done this a lot on my Twitch channel before and once on my Mixer channel. But anyway, I'm going to be building an application today, a serverless app made up in AWS. The primary goal is to get this thing done, get it out to market. As a little bit of background on what the app is supposed to do, it's an app that lets people ship things through USPS using the EasyPost API. It was originally designed for my wife's business because she was shipping a lot of small products all kind of around the country, and she needed a simple way to be able to ship stuff. She was originally doing it manually, so this application kind of actually started as a PowerShell script that I wrote for her to help streamline some stuff. And since then, it's kind of gone through several iterations. This will probably be number 4 or 5. I don't really know. Yeah, the idea is we're going to sync up contacts with a Square account, which I don't have set up yet, and I don't plan on getting to that today. That's probably going to be a next week thing. But it will import customers from a Square account, or we'll eventually integrate it into other accounts. But it's going to start off with just Square. You can pull it in. You can specify some package defaults, saying, you know, if you, like my wife shipped a lot of really small things, right? So she basically had a single package size that was used almost all the time. And, you know, I want to have some defaults set in there, so they'll be able to click, 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 you know, select their customers, and then it'll validate all the addresses. She'll be able to set her pick, or, you know, whoever's going to use it's going to set their shipment size or package size. OBS is messing your, seems OBS is messing your chat up. How so? Can you hear me okay, Diamond? Hello, hello. Posting the same message to the screen. Oh, that's interesting. All right, well, all right. Thank you I appreciate the heads up on that. I'll go ahead and hide that. I didn't notice that. Yeah, OBS kind of freaked out on me today, and I don't know what's going on with it. It wouldn't let me stream, like, at all. It just wouldn't. So I had to manually key in my RTMP key, or my stream key, into the settings, and that kicked it in. But even YouTube is saying, like, oh, hey, your stream health might not be 100% perfect. So, but yeah, thanks, Simon. Appreciate the heads up. I didn't even notice that. So anyway, you're going to get a little bit of an insight into how I like to do my personal projects and work. I use Azure DevOps for pretty much everything. I haven't really found a good reason to switch to anything else, mostly because it's free for up to 5 users, and it has some really cool, powerful features for developers. Something, you know, GitHub does a pretty good job at managing, like, Git code and stuff, but I found it quite lacking when it comes to the project management tools. And GitLab, I've looked into it. I looked into GitLab a little bit, and I really don't have a whole lot of reason to switch. Nothing there is really pulling me to it, so I've kind of just been like, well, we'll stick with Azure DevOps for now. Even though I'm kind of sick of using Azure because they've pissed me off over the last couple of months since I've been using it, but anyway. So this is kind of my agenda for today. Let's see, boards. These are my 3 things I want to knock out. So currently, I have a DevOps pipeline that's set up to deploy out to a Azure storage account. We're going to be porting that over to use S3 and AWS. I've got the UI currently using Azure B2C, which is their authentication platform. We're going to move that over to use Cognito. And then I've also got, we're just going to try and get the API set up in Lambda. Whether that happens, I don't know. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to start with the pipeline. I have a completely separate Azure account set up. Hold on one second. I gotta grab some stuff. Even my OBS remote, which I usually use to switch between my scenes, isn't working. It's gonna make things a little bit challenging today. I gotta note down some keys here, so bear with me. Alrighty, ready. All right, back in business. So I've got S3. I've got this up. First thing I need to do is I need to create what's called an S3 bucket. It's just a store. It's just think of it like a bucket to hold all your stuff, right? So normally in a Windows computer or any kind of computer, really, you got files and folders. You got hard drives, right? An S3 bucket is kind of like a hard drive. It's the top level storage point for AWS. keep wanting to say Azure. So anyway, we're going to create a bucket here. DNS compliant name. We'll name this test.enviari. I guess test.enviari, staging.enviari. I don't know. This is fine. That works fine. So we'll next. We don't need to really worry about any of this other stuff. We don't want to block public access because this is going to be a publicly accessible app. So I don't want to block anything. But of course, once we get to that point, when someone tries to access the app, they're going to be prompted to sign in using Cognito. So we're going to hopefully get that knocked out today too. So my bucket's created. Going to head over back onto Azure DevOps here. Let's go to pipeline. Now I took a look at the pipeline for the UI. That works fine. All this thing is doing, actually I'll bring this up so you can see what I'm doing. So this is the Azure DevOps pipeline. It's defined in YAML. And you guys going to bed? All right. Mwah, mwah. I love you. Sweet dreams. Good night, guys. Kiddos are going to bed. Okay, so let's see. Back to where we were talking about. So this is the bucket. Triggers none. I have it set to manual for now. If we wanted to automate this and get some continuous integration going on, we can set the trigger to master, which is master, main, whatever the normal convention is now. I think everybody's switching to main. So we can set this to main, and then whenever there's any kind of commits to main, it will go ahead and trigger the build, right? We're going to use VMware image or VM image of Ubuntu because I just need a Linux image. And then here are my steps that have been defined inside of the pipeline. We're going to install Node.js actually into the Ubuntu image. Things become a little bit quicker, more streamlined if you have your own agent set up. I don't have that yet. I do have a an Azure DevOps build agent in one of my servers, but I'm not using that. I'm just going to use whatever's up in the cloud because I'm kind of trying to move away from having my own stuff. Then we're going to run npm install, npm run build, and then publish the artifacts up into a container inside of Azure DevOps, which we can use to reference, from our release section of our pipeline. So this is fine. I don't need to mess with this. What I am going to do though is I'm going to go into releases, and if I go to edit my release definition here, you can see we have Azure blob file copy. This is actually what I had set up before. Is it was taking the artifacts that were stored in that container and it's copying them over to Azure. We don't want that now. We want it to go to S3. So we're going to go ahead and go here, and this stuff is all basically useless now, so we can scrap this. Selected task. We're going to add a new task, and we're going to do S3 upload. S3 credentials. I've got to add my credentials in here. So now I got to switch back to my secrets. That's actually what I was taking a note of earlier. Is in AWS you need an access key and a secret access key. I've got one of my articles that's coming up. Actually, I think the next one. I don't know if it's the next one. No, I think it's next week's. Next week, Monday, I'm releasing an article on my Coding Discord bot series, along with a video that kind of explains how to create an AWS account, because we end up integrating with DynamoDB, which is their NoSQL platform. The rest of these can pretty much stay the same. Service connection name, aws.test. Hold on. Enviari service, save that. Okay, I think we're all set for now. Hopefully I don't have to go back to handling secrets again, but if it happens, it happens. So I've created my service account here, added those two pieces of information. That's all that is. It's just a way for Azure DevOps to hook into S3 or the AWS to upload this artifacts to S3. So region, I always go US East 1 because that's kind of the original AWS region, as I understand, and it's the cheapest. I think it's the most cost efficient because they usually start implementing services there. Bucket name, we actually just created that bucket, so test.enviari. We'll copy this. Actually, I just type it in. Test.enviari. Source folder, we're going to browse to our build artifacts, drop. Everything inside of here is going to go up to there. Okay, file name, we want everything. Prefix, this would be like a folder. We don't want a prefix, we just want it to be right in the root of the drive. ACL, public read. Create S3 bucket if it does exist. And I can't remember if there was something else I have to set here. Control options, output variables, I don't think so. Nothing else really is required, I don't think. Okay. So let's save this. And I actually need to head back over into AWS because I created the service account before I started the stream, just so this way I can get those IDs because I didn't want to show that on stream. But I don't have a policy assigned to it, so I have to see if I can remember how to do that. So let's go back to services, go to IAM, stands for Identity and Access Management. Users, here's my user. We want to add permissions. I'm going to click on attach existing policies directly, although I'm going to create a new policy. This new policy, let's choose. We're going to start off with just S3 for now. We don't really need it to access anything else. All S3 actions is fine. Actually, you know what? I don't even think I need that. Let's just do write. I don't want all that stuff. Let's see, put. It's been a while since I've done this stuff. I know put object is one of them that I need. Replicate, delete. I want to delete object too, because if I want it to overwrite an existing object. If you put an object into S3, it doesn't overwrite it by default unless if you have versioning turned on. It will just place a new version in there, but you get charged for the storage for both of those items then. I think everything else is probably fine. So let us review the policy. And, oh wait, hold on a second. No, I've got that. I got to specify my resources because I don't want access to everything. I want access to a specific bucket name. Test.Enviari. And we can do any object name within that bucket we can access. You know, and we're actually just going to do, not read all. We'll do get buckets. Get object ACL. Can you is put object ACL thing in here? We might have to tweak this a little bit as we keep going. I think we can give a create bucket as well. Get object torrent. That's a new one. Return torrent files from a bucket. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. It's one of the cool things about exploring things live on stream is you get to see all the cool and interesting things that exist. All right, you know what? Let's just settle here. If we need to change things, we will. Create bucket, bucket name any. We can create any bucket. It's fine. We don't want to specify any request conditions. You can specify and make sure that like MFA is required. So this is really useful if you have items you don't want to delete. You need to make sure the users actually have a MFA and they're signed in using MFA. You can also require source IP, so you can only access things by a source IP. So if you think if you're inside of a company and you know what the IP is going to be, that works, but not here. So I'm just going to name this kind of a generic policy just because we're going to use this account probably to do a whole lot of things. So yeah, we're going to leave it kind of generic. The reason I put an underscore before it is because that will bump it up to the top of the list. So we'll create this policy. All right, we don't need this open anymore, but if I refresh my policies inside of my window here, see we have that, check it. Next, review, add permissions. Okay, so this should be set up. It should, and I say that because I think it is, and I really haven't tested it yet. So now that's saved. Let's create a release and see if our files end up there. So we'll create the release. Let's go ahead and check the logs here. Let's keep an eye on here. I'm gonna grab some coffee. It's cold coffee. I made it like an hour ago. I was planning on chugging down a cup while I was planning on putting down a cup while I was getting ready for the stream, and I just got like so involved I didn't even get to it. Sometimes this takes a little while to kind of get kicked in. There we go. Test.Enviari. Did I name that wrong? Or did I name it right and do something different? Auto create option not set, cannot continue. Okay, so when all else fails, just, you know, give it a hammer. Let's go to S3 permissions. No, hold on a second. There's my policy. Let's edit the policy. Specify bucket resource or ARN. I don't care about that. Just, yeah, give it everything. Any exploit name, don't care. Any bucket, don't care. Any region, any job ID, don't care. And let's edit this and just say, you know, whatever, bucket. Yeah, so free reign of S3, whatever. This is actually a test account. This was one of the things I was doing before I set up. I would like to eventually go back and when I get this thing pushed into production, I'm going to make sure all these permissions are fine-grained. But for now, this is fine. Save changes. All right, let's try and build again. Let's see here. Go back to our releases, create release, create. Refresh. We'll let that thing settle for a while. While that is chugging along, I'm actually going to head over into Cognito because that's one of the things I want to get set up today. Cognito is a authentication platform up in AWS. It allows you to create user accounts and authenticate directly against Cognito's user accounts. And what makes it really cool is you don't ever have to manage any of the secret stuff. So whenever someone is building some kind of application where they need authentication, which is really honestly most, I try and push people towards using some kind of platform like this. There's Azure B2C, which we had set up, I think, in one of my previous streams. There is Auth0 is a really popular one. And basically because it helps remove the liability in case your platform gets hacked or whatever, right? Something like that. Like Cognito is a really well tested, really well thought out, really well just, you know, it's been banged on, you know, quite a lot. So, you know, Amazon is not going to release a product that's going to have a whole lot of bugs in it. Whereas, you know, unless you're like a diehard security expert, you might not know exactly all the little nitty-gritty ins and outs of creating an authentication system. So our user pool name, we'll say Enviari users. Enviari user pool, why not? All right, so we're just going to review the defaults, create a pool. And the user pool is kind of what's going to define like our entity that's going to hold all of our users. So as you can see, if I come into users, I can import a list of users if I want. I can create a user. You can assign policies to the specific users. I was watching a video the other day on Cognito, and one thing that I guess I didn't really appreciate that you can do is you can use user pools where you define users. You can also use the other pool type, I can't remember, identity pools, I think is what it's called. And you can delegate AWS permissions to the users who have signed into your platform so they can access AWS stuff directly. And what's really neat about that is you don't have to build APIs because AWS has their APIs already, right? So you just use their SDKs, you have them sign in and be granted a policy through IAM, and then they can have access to the resources and you can get real fine-grained with it. That's one of the things, I think one of my upcoming series is going to be that. So I know we need to define an app client. Our app client name is just called the Enviari. How about web? Enviari web, because this might eventually turn into a multi-platform application. I'm building it for the web because I want it I want people to be able to use it on any platform, but it's not going to be native, at least not to start. Or we might create a PWA. I don't know. So let's create the app. We're going to need this app client ID. I do know that for a fact. So I'm going to come back into here and we're going to create a new file in UI. Oh, actually, you know what? I think I have my appconfig.json, which has some of these stuff in here. Yeah, here. So let's create a new. Let's see, Cognito user client ID. And then we're gonna do this. I don't know that we're really gonna need this, but I'm gonna put it here just to basically save it for later. We don't need to see the secrets here. We need to come into app client settings. We're gonna select the Cognito user pool, callback URLs. We'll just do localhost for now. http://localhost. We want the auth code flow, email, OpenID. Okay, that should be enough for there. Let's save that. Domain name, we'll do test.enviari because that's what we've been setting up so far. So this is the URL we will use to sign into the application. And save changes there. Oh, let's try on test underscore. Test hyphen maybe. Otherwise I will actually have to read that text there. Okay, so there's our URL we're going to use to sign in. Oh, I'm in US East 2. Didn't realize that. Damn. I always like to start off with US East 1. You know what? Whatever. We'll do everything US East 2 then. It's not a big deal. I already started creating resources here. I bet you that bucket's in US East 2 as well. Yeah, when you're dealing with these cloud platforms, the region you're in makes a difference. Oh no, these are global. That's right. But I think, yeah, see, it's in US East Ohio, which is US East 2. It's not North Virginia. So the bucket, so S3, I think, if I remember, it replicates across different regions. But when you're deploying to it, you still need to specify the region where you're copying the information to. Okay, so let's come back in here. Let's refresh this. I bet you it failed again. Yeah, probably because the bucket doesn't exist in that region. And that would make a whole lot of sense. Let's edit the pipeline. Come in here and let's change this to US East 2. Save that. This whole DevOpsy stuff is like a whole lot of trial and error, I feel like, all the time. But you know what I can do in the meantime is we can set up the URL that we're going to use to sign in. So, and then I'll show you some cool tricks. So let's go back into AWS and let's head back over to Cognito. And let's grab our domain name here. So we need HTTPS // test space or hyphen Enviari dot all that stuff. And then I think for OAuth.token, I think is what we want. And then we want to pass in our client ID. Oh, hold on a second. I need to remember how to do this. Token flow. Yeah, here we go. So OAuth authorize, and then it redirects you. And then the code's going to come back to our API, which is going to talk to Cognito's authentication server to make sure. And this becomes less important as I just want to test the sign-in, right? This becomes less important as we get things kind of set up, because we're going to put our API up into Lambda and use API Gateway. And API Gateway has a feature called authorizers, which you can basically say, hey, anyone coming to this endpoint, I want you to go back to Cognito and I want you to check to make sure they exist there automatically. Nothing else needed from us. They'll need to sign in. We'll need to pass the ID token back with our request up to API Gateway, but it handles all the heavy lifting about authentication, which makes things really, really cool and really easy. But let's see. So OAuth 2 authorize. Let's come back here and let's OAuth 2 authorize. And we need to do the response. Yeah, let's go side by side. Why not? And we need to do, let's see, response type. Actually, hold on, I got a better idea. Get rid of the sidebar. Okay, so there's that. So I like to do this when I'm building these kinds of URLs. So I like to space them out and then we'll get rid of all the spaces. So response type is code. And let's see, client ID is that client ID we just caught. For this guy, I probably could have done this over here. Yeah, let's get this out of the way. Create a new file here. Just do this here. Keep everything in VS Code, where my Zoom I know is pretty well lit up, and it's easier to. I'm easier working with VS Code as an IDE, but I like Sublime as a text editor. All right, so client ID is our client ID, which I got rid of my clipboard. And let's see, redirect URI equals http://localhost. And state's not required. State's good if like I've used this before where like you want to return somebody back to an original, like a previous location within your app. So like say somebody has like a direct link into a specific location inside of an app and they paste that, right? Your app notices they're not authenticated or not logged in and they receive a 401 back from API Gateway. You can set inside of the state saying the path you want to drop them in when they come back to your application is that, and set up your app to handle that appropriately. But I don't think we need anything else other than this. Yeah, no, I don't think so. All right, so here's our URL. Let's test this sign in. So if I hit this, here we go. We got our sign in, but we don't have any users yet. So let's create a user. Okay, users and groups. No. Create user, username required, test user. We don't want to send an invitation. Temporary password. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. Create user. All right, so test user created with our test password. So let's go back here and say test user and password. It's going to force me to change the password. No, go away. Password. You can see it also enforces the password complexity, password strength. That's good. Test at brianm.dev. That doesn't exist, but that's fine. Oh, that's weird. It wants to send me the password. Okay, I did not expect that because I didn't set the email address. Let's back up here. Sign as a different user. Let's go to here. We're gonna create another user test. I'm gonna actually set the email address here. I wonder if I could set the email address on this guy. No, I think once you actually create a user, there's not a whole lot you can do to edit it. I think you can do like a reset password or something, but that is about it. Disable, enable SMS MFA, add to group. No, that's pretty much it. All right, let's create another user. Test user 2. We don't want to send any notifications. We'll create our temporary password. Phone number, don't care. Email address. Yeah, mark is verified. I'm going to just put my email address in. So brian@brianmorrison.me. Create user. All right, so we got test user 2 is created now. Test user 2. Yeah, okay. Get out of here. Okay, send. See what this does. Okay, so even though we didn't actually get this is because we set the redirect URI to localhost. But what's important is this guy right here, this code. This code is actually what we can send to API Gateway or back to our backend service, and then our server or service, whatever, the backend service is what's going to negotiate that authentication with Cognito, and then it's going to be returned a set of tokens along with a refresh token, and we can save the refresh token inside of our database and allow that to keep the user logged in for at least a set amount of time, right? But okay, I think that's good. I think that's what we're looking for. So we got Cognito basically set up. This thing still failed. Why did it fail? Bucket does not exist, or you do not have access. All right, let's see what's going on here. I'm going to, no, discard that. Let's edit the pipeline again. Create the bucket if it doesn't exist. Test Enviari 2. Why not? I'm curious to see what this does. Again, a lot of this is just a lot of trial and error. It gets easier after you get it down the first time, because then it's like, oh, it just works, and then it just keeps chugging away for you. Hey, at least it kicked in progress right away now. One of the things I'm excited about is after I'm done with my stream tonight, I get to start recording content for my next series. I finished writing all my articles over the last couple of days. So the articles are all done. Request signature we calculated. That's a new one. And my headphones just died. Yes, got turned off or something. Okay, I don't know why they turned off, but what object cannot update contents? Let's go back and check that policy again. Full access, multiple. Just get rid of everything. Let's do it again. It's always good to be very explicit with your security policies, at least in production. Like, you want, always take the approach of least privilege, which means that you never want to, you never want to do exactly what I'm doing right now, which is essentially give a person or a thing complete access to everything, right? You want to limit their permissions to only what they absolutely need. Now, in our case, I'm really just kind of trying to get this working for the stream, and I'm going to eventually come back and revisit this to figure out why it's not working, you know, or find out exactly what policies I need to assign. And if this does not work, honestly, I'm just going to upload it. I'll just take the contents and upload them directly in. You can use a program called WinSCP, which I've used for years to do things like to manage files on servers and remote servers, specifically SFTP servers. But they also have a way of connecting into S3, so you can copy items in there. Now, what makes it a little more challenging, or adds an extra step to doing that is, well, A, you got to do it manually, but also you have to go into S3 and then update all the permissions on the items, so this way they can be served up through the public website feature of S3. Okay, so let's see what we are doing here. This is control list. AWS Cognito. Yeah, there's nothing we really need to do here. All right, let's try and kick it off one more time. It's like continuing to watch grass grow and failing over and over and over. Actually, no, this isn't bad. See, still same thing. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe my credentials don't work. Signature's not matched. I want to look that up. Let's see. S3 put object signature doesn't match. S3 Azure DevOps. Signature. Oh, so it gave me something. Signatures.match. AWS SDK. See if we can get some hints here. These are old. 2013, 2015. These are probably not what we're looking for. Let's scroll down to the bottom and see what the latest comment was. August 1st. Let's see. Found error with a secret key containing a slash. Regenerative amount of keys. Okay. We can do that. I can regenerate keys. I got no problem with that. No, it means I do got to go back to our handling secrets. Actually, no. Let's see. Credentials, we don't need that anymore. Let me delete these. I'm deleting the old keys that we got. Creating the new keys. I'll copy and paste these off to the side. You know, I wonder if I fat fingered something, because it looks like I got a space in here. Oh, you know what? No, that's interesting. So the secret access key, again, because I can't show it, is it has a slash in it. So I wonder if it's a Microsoft-y thing that's causing the issue. That would be a trip. That'd be something new, because I've never seen. I've used, like, my website uses Azure DevOps to upload my files into S3, which is served up by CloudFront, and I have not run into this issue. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, once you do it, there's not a whole lot that you can really screw up. I don't know how to edit that, so we're going to just create a new set of credentials. Token, don't need to assume a role, so we will say the service name is Enviari SVC2. Okay, and we're back. And so I can see, updated my credentials. That looks fine. Test Enviari 2. I'm going to get rid of that because I would like it to go in that bucket that we created. Let's go back in and make sure I got the right name there. See, S3. I got S3 open? No, I don't. Test.enviari is what we're naming our bucket. Test.enviari is what we got there. Cool. Save it. Create release. Create. Open this guy up. Watch grass grow. I can zoom in here a little bit. Make it easier for people to see. Watch grass grow. It's one downside of doing these streams so late at night is I'm usually tired by now, so I start chugging down a bunch of coffee to get back into the mode, and then yeah, I don't go to sleep. Upload. See, there you go. Boom. So it was the secret keys, which is interesting. That's an interesting thing. So now if we go into S3, go in here, boom, there you go. Here's all of our stuff. Here's our UI that we've now ported over from Azure into S3. Now, if we go into properties and we go to static website hosting, we can say use this bucket to host a static website, and we'll say index.html. We're going to run into a little bit of an issue with the way that I think I'm using Vue. The Vue router. I know there's some stuff I got to put in here for the Vue router, and I have references to it somewhere. I'm going to need to find that. But basically, if you need to tell, if you try and hit like this URL, it works fine, and you navigate beyond that, it works fine. But if you have a direct link to somewhere within the application, it does cause some issues because AWS is going to be looking for an HTML file that doesn't technically exist, since the Vue router is what's handling that routing functionality. But there's some stuff you can put in there that'll fix that. So we will probably get to that in a little bit. So let's save that. And let's open our bucket. We got this. We're redirecting back to Azure B2C. Now, frankly, if I'm being entirely honest, I thought Azure B2C was quite a bit easier to set up than Cognito. And I could technically use it for this, and I may eventually circle back to it by the time I deploy this thing. I don't know. But I would like to work a little bit more with AWS. See, here's the thing. A little personal story. So I got AWS certified last year while I was looking for a job, right? And just because AWS is kind of the market leader, right? And I'm like, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get AWS certified, and I'm going to get a job where I'm working with AWS. I know infrastructure, I know development, perfect, ties the two together, great. And I get a job, great job, love the job. People I work with are awesome, guys and gals, they're great, really good company. I'm doing a lot of cool stuff. They use Azure. Of course, I jumped in, and they're like, hey, all that studying you just did for AWS to get those certs, yeah, take that, crumble it up, throw it out the window, it's gone. So I was like, that's kind of why I want to continue working with this, because I took the time and sat down and got the cert, and I would like to use what I've learned, and I'd like to learn more. And I might actually go back and try and get my pro level certs too. Even though I wouldn't use them for work, that's kind of like a personal validation. I'd like to see it actually happen. Okay, so we're up in there. That's good. Now I want to take a look. Let's take a look at this actual URL. I'm going to go back into VS Code. This is my URL that I was using in Azure. So if I come here, I'm going to split some of this stuff up. I want to actually see the redirect. Because I can probably reuse the same redirect here. Of course, localhost 8080. I think that's because I was running it locally. OAuth reader, but we can probably, that was a / OAuth reader. I think that actually might be what we're looking for. All right, so let's head back into Cognito, and we're gonna update our redirect URI to not localhost, but we want to snag this URL. Copy this guy, because this is the URL of our website, our test app. We're going to put that in there. We're going to do OAuth reader. Save that. Cannot use HTTP. Oh, that's right. That's going to pose a bit of an issue because this is another thing. Again, Azure, AWS, that they've got their differences, right? So in Azure, you can use HTTPS on an S3 bucket or on S3 with a public website. In Azure, you can access a storage account using their public website feature over HTTPS. AWS, unfortunately, does not support this. So what that means we need to do is we're going to set up a CloudFront CDN distribution, which does support HTTPS, and we can tie that back to our CloudFront. And we can tie that back to our S3 bucket files. So CloudFront, create distribution, web distribution. Now it's going to show me my bucket, but I don't want to use the bucket. And the reason being is because we want to take advantage of these redirection rules a little bit, and these don't necessarily work when you're using just the bucket URL. So we want to use this thing here. This is the origin we want to use. So we're going to copy that again. We're going to head back into origin domain name, type that. Path is fine. We're going to redirect HTTP to HTTPS. These options are fine. All this stuff is probably fine. I think there's an option here where you can set the default root object. Index.html is what we're looking for. We'll say Enviari test. Comment here. This actually shows in the table, as you'll see here in a sec. When we create the distribution, it's going to show it right here. Otherwise, you just get this big blob of stuff, right? And it's like, I don't know what this is. So that's why I like adding a comment in there. So at least when I come back and I look at all my CloudFront distributions, I know which each one is for. So this is still in progress. We'll wait till this finishes being in progress. But in the meantime, we can copy up this CloudFront domain name here. And that does support HTTPS. In fact, it will redirect HTTPS, and we'll paste that there. And you best not complain about that. Okay, and that worked. All right, so let's actually just try and go to that URL. It might work now. No, so my distribution hasn't finished. So we got to wait a little bit until that's done. But once that's done, we might actually be able to test signing in, which was going to be pretty cool. We'll need to update our URL though. So let's go here and our redirect URL. Let's get rid of this little searchy box. Instead of redirect URI being that, it's going to be, oh, you know, but this isn't returning the tokens directly because we're using a different flow. I don't know. This might not work. I might have to use a different flow for that to get the tokens directly, because it's going to expect to go back up to the server. So we might need to use the implicit flow for testing, and then use the auth code flow for our production environments, because we really want to use the auth code flow. That's the more secure of the two. While that's doing that, I'm actually just going to enable implicit grants, save those changes there. So now we can change and use the token one. Let's see what our URL is. This is the implicit grant. So we need ID token, the ID token and access token are what returned. And we can use those to parse the user's information out. See the OAuth code. This is the flow we're looking at now. So the auth token flow, the code gets sent to our application, which then negotiates and grabs the user's tokens from the Cognito server. But I know for a fact right now my UI is not set up to handle that. Yeah, I guess, you know, interesting things that come up when you're trying to move from one environment to the next. Go back in to see how our distribution's going. Still in progress. All right, so let's come here and let's take a look at how far we've gotten. So back into our Azure DevOps. Pull this out a little bit. Staging pipeline deployed to S3. We've got the UI portion set up. I'm going to consider that one done. And actually, I'm going to create a new Let's see, setup staging pipeline for API. That's fine. Setup convert UI from Cognito. That's in progress. Set up basic API using Lambda. Lambda and API gateway. We might get to this. We might. We still got time. Hasn't even been an hour yet. Goal is to try and hit at least 2 hours today. Maybe even more. We'll see. Would like to try and do a little bit longer streams. I don't know. I might just keep going on this thing, depending on how far we make it. Let's go back in here. Refresh. All right, so that's deployed. So now let's try this. That goes there. We still get redirected here, which that's fine. That I didn't change that yet, but we can. All right, so let's go. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna use a different URL. So we're gonna say I'm gonna leave my B2C endpoint in there because I might come back and use that. I don't know. So we'll say Cognito login URL. And let's look at our URL we got here. Response type is code. I'm going to change this and duplicate this line. We're going to say our I know that URL is wrong. We want to use OAuth2.token. This is right. Oh, that's code grant still. OAuth2.tokens here. So not authorized, we're gonna do token. Our response type is, I think, gonna be token. Response type is token. Everything else I think is the same. So let's copy this into our, and I don't need this anymore. I cannot save this. Paste that guy there. And that is going to be our login URL. So now I need to find out where this B2C endpoint's being used, and we're gonna fix that. Main router B2C endpoint. So app.config. Here we go, right here. Whoops. So now we're gonna see the magic of how this pipeline is going to work. So I'm gonna save this, and I actually do want to set up continuous integration. Yeah, CI. So we're gonna come into pipeline, and we're gonna set a trigger of, I'm gonna say master because my branch name is still master. I think that's right. I don't know. Find out. We'll say a commit port updated. I think I can do. I think we can tie it back to moved. I'll show you another interesting thing that I like about Azure DevOps. So if I preface this at number 98, I think this is it. I think. So if I do number 98 beforehand, like that, and we'll commit those changes and sync up, it should automatically tie this commit to that product backlog item, which means that if I ever wanted to go back and look at the history of work that I've done inside of Azure DevOps, I can see specifically which commits were done working on an exact task, which is pretty cool. Let's refresh this and see if that link, yeah, right here. See on the bottom, I'm pointing to the screen like people can see, right? But like on the bottom right here, see if I click on updating app, you can see this ties it into this commit that we just did. We can leave this open actually, so we can add notes and stuff to it if we want to. I don't need that anymore. That we're gonna leave open just for reference. In fact, I'm gonna pocket that guy. I might come back and look at this again at some point. Come on, Pocket, go away. I don't need that anymore. I don't need that anymore. That was an interesting find about that slash in the secret not being usable within Azure DevOps. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that one going forward. But now we can go into, should we close this? Let's head over to our pipeline. I want to see if this kicked off. So this failed. Why did it fail? Unexpected value master. I bet you that's because my trigger is not set properly. So I'm going to reference one of my other projects to see how I did this. Oh, it's dash master. Okay. I will eventually come back and change the names of my branches, but that is not a mission for today. Say fixed pipeline trigger. Save it, sync it. Let's see this thing work its magic. So see, since I set that, now whenever I commit my code and push it up to Azure DevOps, it's gonna start the build process. And if I go to my releases, I go to edit, I should have continuous deployment here. Yeah, so my continuous deployment trigger is enabled. Creates a release every time a new build is available. So that's done. So as soon as, now this like takes a lot of the heavy lifting away from doing, you know, manually deploying the code, right? So whenever I make any changes to the code and push it up into the server, it's going to build it and it's going to deploy it. So, and then I have my Azure DevOps set up to send notifications to webhooks and Discord. So I get immediate notifications when everything's done. So when it's done, I go and check it. Now, the one thing that kind of sucks is that since we're using a CloudFront distribution, there are some items there that are cached. And I just realized I'm going to have to fix that. So actually, let's go in here. I'm going to edit this, and I'm quickly going to turn this off and save it, just because we're going to have to add another task in here to clear the cache. So let's say CloudFront. No, I got to do CLI. Not Azure CLI, AWS CLI. And actually, I'm going to, same thing, I'm going to reference one of my other projects, because my website is actually doing the exact same thing as this. So I'm just going to pull that command here. Yeah, my production version of my website is doing this, not the non-production. Purge CDN. All right, so Azure CLI, select our credentials we've done too, because that's a good one. This, I don't think CloudFront really cares, but we're going to select US East 2 because just for the sake of being consistent. Command. What? Hold on a second. AWS shell, not AWS. Wait, this is AWS shell. Hold on. I think I might have added the wrong one. AWS shell. Is there a shell script? Yeah, shell script. Here we go. All right, so now say that region is going to be US East 2. No arguments. We're going to do an inline script. CloudFront. See, this is doing. So what this is basically doing is this is executing a CLI command up in directly to AWS. So AWS has this nice fancy UI that you can work with. But believe it or not, I think everything, including some additional things, are actually accessible through their APIs, which you can use the AWS CLI to access. So there is no built-in task in Azure DevOps. Actually, there's none of these built in Azure DevOps, but AWS has put out an extension in Azure DevOps, which gives you access to a bunch of these things, right? But they don't have a task built in that lets you clear out, like purge a CDN. So that's what this is doing, essentially. So we'll just say purge CDN. Save that. Okay, my build should be finished. So let's go check that. That's done. It was successful. So let's go in here. I'm going to edit this again and turn on the continuous deployment. Save it, create the release, create. Okay, release 25 has been created. Every time it's release time, apparently it's coffee time. Coffee, 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 coffee. This thing used to be really good at refreshing itself, but it seems to be lacking a little bit lately. I don't know if they've made some changes on their servers or whatever, their systems, to make it not refresh automatically. I don't know. I don't know, man. Or woman. Purge CDN failed. See, oh, that's right. So Enviari doesn't have access to the CDN. It's not in the policy. So yay, we get to go update security again. Let's see. Let's go to IAM. And let's go to users. Actually, let's go to policies. Edit the policy. Let's add some permissions. Let's say CloudFront. Yeah, do it all. I'm not gonna waste time trying to at least privilege this thing. Distribution, any is fine. Any is fine. And any is fine. Review, save. And I'm not going to trigger the build again, because what I can actually do is I can purge the CDN directly from here. So go under distribution ID, invalidations, create invalidation, and we'll do /star to clear anything. Okay, so now this invalidation, what this is basically doing is it's going to crawl everything that's been cached in the CDN so far, and it's just going to say, just get rid of it. Purge it all, like get rid of it all. You can do specific folders, like if you want to get really granular with it. And, you know, as time goes on, well, see, the problem with a lot of these JavaScript frameworks that give you, that just spit out all this like CSS and JavaScript with random files is it might be a little challenging to try and figure out exactly what files and paths need to be purged for the CDN, which is why I'm doing that. I do that with my website, and my website's so small that it's not a big deal. I mean, I think my total charges for my website last month up in AWS was like 20 cents or something like that, 30 cents even. I don't know. It's still going. The new code should be there though, so let's back up here. We get that. No, we're still going to B2C, so it's not. Something's still cached in there. Okay, that's complete. Let's go in here and actually take a look at. Yeah, again, it just spits out a bunch of this, so I can't really check to see that, but I can. Can I? My app.config is not in here. Let's try and do this again. So we'll go. Here is our domain name. Let's open a new guy here. Okay, so it's something updated because we got redirected here. It says an error was occurred. We think we can F12 this to find out what the error was. Or not, maybe. Response type token. We're gonna have to debug. Something's up with this URL then, so we're gonna have to debug it manually. I thought there was some information in the background that would tell you what's going on, but apparently not. Page requested. Let's try and build this thing manually and figure out what's going on. Okay, so let's back into VS Code. Let's open a new file. And let's see what we got going on here. So this should be, let's see, we need OAuth 2 token. So it's gonna be like that. And I know we need it's response type. Response type query parameter is set to token. We need the client ID and we need the redirect URI. Did I say URL? No, I got URI there. .net. Can't http://localhost because that I got rid of that out of there. That says an error occurred too. Response type is token. Client ID should be our client ID. Let's make sure that's right. Should be that guy. Like a little live debugging. Should be that. It's implicit grant, that's that. Unless it's because this didn't make it into it. I wonder if that's the case. Because I did catch, oh, let's go back in here. I did catch that that's not on there. Still encountered an error. Let's get rid of this. Let's go back to localhost, actually. If not, I might get rid of this implicit grant here, too. Okay, let's get rid of that. Save. Try this. Token. Oh wait, hold on, we need to authorize. Unauthorized client invalid request. You know, I wonder if it's because I'm already logged in. Now the trick is, how do I log out? I actually don't know how to log out to something I can't even get to. Should contain multiple URLs. Save those. Launch hosted UI. Okay, login /login client ID. Scope, response type is code. Okay, so let's sign in here. What do I do? Test user 2? Sign in. I want to save you. We signed in and went back to localhost. Okay. Sign in as a different user. And let's enter our other guy here. Okay, that's good. Test user. We'll do test. No, I'm sorry. Sign in there. Okay, we got redirected back into our auth, which is cool. But so that signed us in. Let's sign as a different user, but let's do OAuth2 token, and response type is going to be token. Auth reader is going to be the same. It's probably going to tell us there's something wrong with this because, yeah, that I expected because we don't have the implicit grant turned on. Unless I can't do both at the same time. Maybe I got to do auth code and implicit grant separately. I don't know. Let's disable authorization code grant. Save changes here. Interesting. I swear I've done this before. Am I missing something? Clients. That should be app client you set. Domain name is set. That's there. Well, let's see. How do we get around this then? I'm almost thinking about maybe just rejiggering the UI to accept the code and pass that back instead. But the code, you have to set up the API first. We might have to do things in a little bit of a different order than I was originally expecting. I don't need that anymore, hopefully. Get rid of that. Alright, so now we've disabled everything. Let's try launching hosted UI now. See, this still says login. Response type is token now, though. Alright, so let's try grabbing this URL over here. Maybe I did have the wrong URL, like all this entire time. Although, being frank, See, this is the part of live streaming this stuff that gets a little old or and I get confused. I get kind of stuck with these things, and then I have to think through them, and I'm quite silent. So, okay, this redirected to local host, but I've got my token, so that's good. Maybe I just had the wrong URL. All right, let's copy this. We're gonna just do a new build. So we'll come in here. We can get rid of that. I can get rid of that. I don't need to save that. Main view, Cognito URL. Paste that in, but we're gonna grab our, actually, you know what, I need to grab, just duplicate this line because I'm gonna need to grab that, paste that, but we don't want local host, we want this guy, and let's replace that, and we'll do, hold on a second, I think the %2f, yeah, like this guy, all this stuff here, the URL encoded version of this is what we want. Wait, which one am I looking at? OpenID, response type token, that guy, and %2f OAuth, %2f OAuth reader. Save that. All right, we can get rid of this guy now. And we'll say, what's number 98 we're working on? Fixed Cognito login URL. Actually, I don't know why I didn't think of this. cd UI npm run dev. Why am I waiting for this thing to get up into CloudFront? Why not test it locally? And run serve. This is getting changed to dev. Just let this thing build and do its thing. I'm gonna need to take a break and go get some more coffee here in a little bit. Yeah, so I was like, there's no real point in deploying this thing out if we don't know that it works. So we got localhost 8080. So let's, I've been working in Firefox. Let's keep it in Firefox. So let's do localhost 8080. Okay. See, here's our error, redirect mismatch up here. I wonder if that's because we got the percentages in there. Maybe it doesn't like the, maybe for B2C it likes the percentages, but here it doesn't. So we're gonna just get rid of that and put the raw URL in here. Reader. And we can do : // So let's go back to Enviari. Oh, wait a second. I think that because that's in my app config, I might need to rebuild that. So let's rebuild that. Let's try a local host. Where's it trying to navigate to? Spectre network. Still trying to do my 2% Fs in there. Just gonna put this string right there. Let it do its thing from there. Config is defined. I hate this. This is the. I like ES. I gotta tweak my ESLint settings. I like it that it. Oh, where is it trying to? It's still trying to do some. I bet you caching is having something to do with this. Let's disable the cache. Yep, there we go. All right, so I got localhost now. And that means we're gonna have to pop this off to the side. Let's see, separate window. I've run into issues with that, with this doing work stuff before where like it caches and it doesn't want to let it go, even if you're running localhost, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like who would really want to run some kind of server on a constant basis off of their own machine, I guess. Well, there's use cases, but config.cognito login URL. Save that. Leave that minimized. That doesn't matter. Okay, so that. All right, we're back up and running. Let's go back into our application. Let's back this thing up. Still got redirected to localhost, so let's see, my disable caching is still there. Dude, did I set it to localhost in here? I did. God, I'm such an idiot. All right, there, like that. 20th times the charm. Redirect mismatch. HTTP. Okay, that's why. Let's try and put an S there. So real developers with our. There we go. Okay, so now we can sign in as test user. Signed in. Got our tokens and everything up there. Auth.view got hit. So that means our authentication flow is working. It's a little funky right now, but we technically, I think, are good and all set up in AWS with Cognito. So sign in should be working. Now, since I think the token is saved here, so now let's head back into, I think I'm saving it in local storage. So let's go and get rid of this. Try and sign in there. Yeah, I am. So now you can see we're not getting redirected to our login page, which is cool. That means login is working. Our app is working up in AWS. And then if I go into storage, you can see under local storage, I've got, here's my token that I'm using that I can use to authenticate requests into the API. This works well. This works fine for now. In a perfect world, like I said, we want to use the access token, or we want to use the auth code flow, so this way we can pass a code and let all the heavy lifting in the backend do what it's supposed to. But I call this a success. So let's go back into here and actually, you know what? Let's make a commit. Let's make our last commit for this issue. So we can close that, Let's go here. We got a couple little things. Fix Cognito login URL. Let's commit that code, push it up. It's going to deploy out. We'll also be able to monitor our release and make sure our release is not working. Hair in my eye. Okie dokie. So build should be kicked off. It is. We'll keep an eye on that. But let's go over to boards. All right. Convert UI to use Cognito. That's done. Next thing, set up basic API using Lambda and API Gateway. I'm going to be using a tool today called SAM CLI, or I guess it's all integrated into there's a plugin for VS Code that I'm using. So we're going to try and use this thing today. I am signed in with my credentials on my production account. I don't think that really makes a difference. So we're going to highlight this and we're going to do create new SAM application. SAM stands for serverless application model, I think, if I remember that right. You're going to say node, hello world, Enviari. It's a name for a new application. Let's name it API, Enviari API maybe. Enviari API. Hit enter. So I'm kind of new to this. When I was building Lambda functions last year, a lot of what I had done was just split my code up into different I guess handlers, different event handlers, and then I would create different. I had all the routing and stuff into those, and then handle publishing. Publish all those through Azure DevOps, and then they would update the Lambda functions, update and the API gateway. I handled all manually. So this supposedly is a tool that I can use to automate a lot of that using CloudFormation templates, which is what this template.yaml is here. But I don't know how this is going to work, so I have no idea. I'm not going to name this. I'm not going to leave this named Enviari API though. We're going to name this to API. You can see that API._BAK because that's what I was using in Azure, using Azure Functions. Okay, so I'm actually going to just take this and see what we can do about deploying it directly in AWS as is. I'm not 100% certain how this whole deployment process works, so I kind of almost want to just see it work. So we'll say, let's see, what's that? That's number 99. So we'll say number 99. And deploying, let's see, I guess, I don't know, added hello world SAM app. Save those and push that code up. Now, how is this going to work? Because we're going to need to add I don't think there's there would be a build process here because like this has this guy here. So we're going to have to create another one of these YAML files, or let's copy this guy in here. We're going to have to create another one of these Azure Pipelines YAML files in order to get our code to, I guess, have the build artifacts all set up in Azure DevOps so we can release those. So, let's see, how would we set this up? I'm going to still trigger on master. That's fine. Install node. But we're going to need to create a separate... I actually don't know how this is going to work. I don't even have the vague idea of how it's going to work. So this is going to be a whole lot of trial and error. I can get rid of all this stuff though. We get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Let's hit up not CloudFormation. Oh no, actually I think I lied. I think we need to go back into Azure DevOps and let's take a look and see what we have as far as our release templates go. Let's create a new release pipeline. I'm going to create an empty job just because I don't need a template. Stage 1, I don't worry about that. That's just the name of this stage. You can have multi-stage deployments in Azure DevOps. So let's add a job, or add a task to the job, and just say CloudFormation. CloudFormation create update stack. Let's see if I can do SAM. See what options we got here. Nothing there. Okay. creates a new AWS CloudFormation stack or updates if it exists. Enviari Service 2. Region's going to be US East 2. Stack name will be Enviari API. S3 bucket and object key. So maybe what we can do is in our build phase, we'll do like an npm install, and so we get all our packages installed, and then get all the packages installed, and then maybe push it up to an S3 bucket, or zip it up, push to an S3 bucket, and then let the CloudFormation pull from that. I don't know. What do we got for template files? No artifacts are linked. Template parameters file. I don't even know exactly what that is. All right, well, let's save this for now. Hold on, release pipeline is... We'll save that for now. We'll come back to that. Let's go and define a build at least. So I'm going, I don't know exactly what this is going to do. So what we'll do is, I think we just need to take the entire that entire thing, maybe push that up into a drop folder. So back here, oh, this, you see, this is why I had the continuous integration turned off, is because sometimes I'm working with just the API and sometimes I'm working with the UI, and I don't necessarily always want it to build and deploy every single one, because you do get some minor costs associated for deploying things out to AWS. So let's modify this Azure Pipelines file. This can all be the same. I'm actually going to change this to, I'm going to get rid of this altogether, because I don't want these things automatically building and deploying. I kind of almost would rather just do them manually. So get rid of that. Those are all fine. Working directory is UI. We're going to have to change our working directory to API hello world. Okay, so under working directory, we'll say API / hello world, because that's where our package.json lives, right? In here. So API hello world, package.json's in here. So we might need to just basically have multiples of these for each function that we create. I wonder if there's a way in here where I can have it like crawl and create a script or something like that. And then from here, our path to publish would basically just be API. Pipeline workspace is a variable up in Azure DevOps for these build and release pipelines, where this, will reference the folder where it's working in. So S stands for source. I think it's S, R, and B are the 3 different directories that are in there. We're just going to work with the sources directory, and then we're going to publish out everything that's in the API. We're going to, same thing, create an artifact named drop, and it's going to be a container up inside of Azure DevOps. So let's save this and see what we got. Let's save all of our files. Probably could have set for API, but that's fine. Sync that up. Now we're going to manually trigger the build. I don't know why these both show that they're waiting. Hey, it sees it. That's pretty cool. It picked that up automatically. At least I don't think I added that. UI is building now. And actually, I'm going to take a step back, grab a quick something to drink, and I'll be back in a moment. Alrighty, I'm back. In a little bit more of a chill mode. I'm seated now. Alright, let's find out where this build failed. Let's see. So, missing script build. Oh. I actually don't need build, so we can get rid of that. Because I'm not building it, I really just need to install the stuff. Get rid of that window. Alright, so we can get rid of npm run build. Let's save that. Let's see. Number... See, this is still triggering automatically. So maybe I do need to set trigger to none. I thought just by doing that, but I don't know. API is running now. Last one failed. Let's see where we're at right now. Excuse the noise. Nothing fancy tonight, just seltzer water. So alright, so it built it. That's good. We're publishing the artifacts, so we're getting somewhere. So now we can go, once this is done, we'll be able to go into our release pipeline and take a look and see what is see what kind of files we have that we can work with. You've given up time for me to excuse the noise. Sorry, dude. Yeah, these mic I got is kind of sensitive, and I gotta tweak some of these settings. I need a good way to mute. Actually, what I'd really like to do is get an audio deck set up, so this way I can mute and change the audio levels from here. I've got a virtual one. In fact, while I wait for this, I can pull this up. It's pretty cool. So this is this voice meter potato, where I can have all these different inputs and stuff, and on different channels, and it's cool because it helped. One of the real reason why I got this software is because I wanted to run Spotify on my streams. But I didn't want to record Spotify just in case I wanted to snip and edit the video and publish it. So that's what that's for. So it's on a different channel, and OBS is set up to have Spotify, same thing, on that, only that channel is only pushed out to the stream, and it doesn't actually record it. So. You know what, actually, I think this is probably why it's better to zip and upload it to S3. Because, like, all these files that are being uploaded right now, like, if you look at all the files in here, I guarantee you 90% of them is going to be in the node_modules that does not exist. Mouse macro for... Diamond says he uses a mouse macro for quick muting. That's pretty cool. I've actually got I've got a button. I've got one of those fancy mice that has buttons on the side of them. Let's see if I can find it. Logitech G503 or G603? Oh, maybe G603. Or maybe not. Maybe none of those. Anyway, I could do this. This is my mouse that I got. So I don't actually do any kind of PC gaming. So it's got 6 buttons on the side, and then it's got the 2 silver ones next to that left click button. I don't do any gaming with it. It's technically a gaming mouse, but I bought it solely for the fact that I can wire up macros to it, and I use it a lot when I'm doing my video editing in Premiere. I use the left half of the keyboard for quick shortcuts, but I also use some of the buttons on the side to to just do like little quick cuts and ripple edits and stuff. All right. Well, this is longer grass growing. So what we're gonna do is actually, while that is chugging away, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna edit this pipeline. One of the cool things about Azure DevOps is you can actually edit code, especially these pipelines right in here. But with the pipelines, what I can do is I can add some space there, and on the right-hand side, you see you got all these tasks. All the tasks that we saw in the release pipelines are pretty much available to us here. So I can do zip, like archive files, like we want to zip stuff, right? So we want to zip this stuff here, take everything in there, like that's the root folder of the archive. Append root folder to the name of the archive. Nope, we don't want to do that. I think that does. Contains Acme if selected. We just want the stuff in there. So zip is fine. Archive file to create. We can just leave this artifact staging directory build ID. These are all just variables. That's fine, but we'll need to take that, place existing archive, and we'll need to put this guy here. Build artifacts. Place that there, and now we can say add that task there. Got some spacing issues. Tab that out. Get that in line. So now what this is going to do is after it does this, it's going to zip the whole thing up, and then it's going to upload that zip directory or that archive into it's going to upload the archive into the container as the artifact instead. The only thing this is really going to do is this is going to save us that time. So I'm going to save this now, and we just leave that just like that. Now, if this still triggers these things automatically, yeah, it did. Okay, so this is so it worked. I'm not even going to bother running the build again because I don't need to test that. But let's go to release, and under API, let's edit this guy, and let's see what we got to work with now. So let's do local file. Oh, this isn't tied to anything yet, so let's add some artifacts in here. We're going to add our build artifacts from the API build. All this can stay the same. Now we should be able to browse inside of here. So our template file is going to be this guy here. S3 bucket, what do we need here? The name of the bucket for which a local template file can be uploaded or which contains the template to be used. I don't think that's required, so we're going to leave that there. I don't think we have any parameters to apply here, so I'm not going to worry about that. Create or update stack using a change set. CloudFormation was something I never really got into. Diamond says he uses the same with a Razor gear. Fancy lighting. Oh yeah, they have the RGB stuff where you can use software to change the colors, right? Using this task to deploy a serverless application template, you must use... Okay, yeah, sure. Change set, whatever. Change set name. Name of the change set. Name must be unique among all change sets that are associated with this. I don't know. Enviari API change set. Change set. Fancy. I need to see a picture of that. Fancy Christmas houses that react to music. That's kind of cool. I've just got, this is the fanciest lighting I got is this back here. I've never really been into the whole lighting thing, but I got this. I was like, this is pretty cool. And then I started going down this path of, I wonder if I can hook it up to my stream somehow so people can change colors, because I can do, like, boom, you want YouTube? Like, boom, there you go, YouTube red. Actually, wasn't the price for these, like, light strips is not that bad either. Stack ID up a variable. I don't even know what half of this stuff is, so we're just going to save this and run it and see what happens. I bet you this is going to complain about the credentials again. So before I even try to run this, let's go into IAM and update our credentials. IAM. Cloud formation. All the cloud formations. I'm gonna have a lot of permissions to go and crawl through. A lot. I now realize as I'm doing this why AWS has a specialty course in security. They have a track, like in their certifications, they have a specialty track for security. And this has got to be the reason why, because there's so much stuff in IAM policies. Like, they touch on it a little bit in my certs, but I didn't do a whole lot with it. Like, you just needed to know some basic things about, like, S3 and Lambda functions and stuff, and that was kind of about it. Anyway, so that policy's been updated. Let's go into ASDO, and run our release. Let's just see what happens. Because I have no idea if this is going to work or not. It'd be cool if it does. Like, the whole pitch behind CloudFormation templates is that YAML file. Like this. Not that one. Is this thing. This is that whole infrastructure as code thing. So, like, AWS should be able to read this and then just, like, crawl out and deploy everything that it needs to. So, and that's kind of what I'd like to, I want to learn more about this, because this is like the cool thing that they didn't cover. It was like, there were like 3 questions, I think, on the exams that was like, what is CloudFormation? Oh, it's used for this. How would you do this? Oh, you do this. Oh, that's it. Like, you're done with CloudFormation. I would bet you if I went into one of the pro level certs that they get a lot more into it, but maybe that's the one that I need to go for, is the security. Because security is hard. I really wonder what's going on with this chat box. Test. While we're waiting. That failed. Resource not in state. Let's do the Google. Let's go to the Googs. Task fails if there's no changes. Okay, changes were just to suppress the warning message. If not, skip and throw. It shouldn't have caused a regression. The famous last words. Bloody, bloody, bloody. I'm gonna disable that. Pipeline. Yeah, I got my chat supposedly is back on thing, but it's not doing anything. Oh well. Stupid OBS. Create or update stack using a change set. Alright. I'm gonna save this. Louise, how you doing tonight, man? Just trying to create another release and see what happens. Click, 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 click. I'm not patient at all, I swear. Yeah, see, look. What's going on with this? Alright, I'm gonna disable the chat. I gotta, like, redo something with OBS. From Brazil, thanks for sharing. Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna be doing one of these things every week on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time. I'm not sure what time zone you're in. You can't be too far off if you're in Brazil. But, yeah. So, yeah. Do me a favor, drop a sub if you want to, you know, sub notifications, whatever the whole YouTube thing is. I'm still kind of new to a lot of this, but yeah, I'm going to do this thing more regularly. Where did you come from, if you don't mind me asking, Louise? Where did you see the this shared at? Refresh, refresh, refresh. Signature. What? I'm running this thing again. Signature not... Garbage. I don't believe you. If this does not work, I may go back to my old school methods of just building Lambda functions manually using Node.js, or using like just little Node apps. Because honestly, building Lambda functions is not that hard. I'm adding an extra layer of complexity by trying to use a CloudFormation serverless template, but it's not this hard to write some functions, and I really, really, really would like to get at least a very basic API set up and running before I kill the stream. Refresh, refresh, refresh. Yeah, it still failed. All right, I'm done with this. I'm gonna revisit this at some point, but right now is not the time. So, okay, let's do the one cool thing about this whole SAM stuff is you can do. So even if I don't use this CloudFormation template, I can do. Hold on a second. Just rearrange my desk a little bit here. I'm trying to think how to do this. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if I open up, if I cd to the API directory, I think it's SAM local start API. So you can see, I'll just scoot this over a little bit. This has mounted on port 3000. It has actually mounted my Lambda function, and I can make changes and stuff while this is running, and it's fine. Now I don't really want to update. I guess I probably should. Like if I want to take this approach, I should be updating this template for everything I do, even though I haven't quite figured out how to deploy it yet, which is something I'm going to definitely do by next week's stream. So, oh yeah, if I haven't mentioned, Wednesdays 8 p.m. Central is what I'm starting with. We might expand that out to more days, but I already got a lot of my evenings are spent creating, videos and articles and stuff. So I'm trying to not overburden myself because I have a bad habit of putting too much on my plate and then just kind of like not quitting, but getting burnt out and taking time away from things that I eventually plan to revisit. And I would like to not do that. All right. Let's open up Postman, and I'll show you the cool thing about working on this, because let's see, Enviari. Cool thing about working on this stuff locally is you can do it locally. So local dev, let's see what my local dev is set up. API, we need to change these values, change these environments. Host name is going to be 3000. And we only really need local dev right now. So let's start by adding a shipments handler in here. Or adding a new thing. You know what, I don't know if I can do this with the SAM CLI, add a function quickly, but that would be something I would like to be able to do. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to actually bring this into a completely new instance. CD API, SAM local start API. I don't know, I'm just staring off into the abyss. Again, it's late. I get tired. I apologize. I try to do my best. All right, so let's create a new folder, and let's say shipments. Right, and let's actually cd to that. I'm going to change back to this guy, and we're going to add a side-by-side here. So cd API, cd shipments, npm init y. npm install Axios. I know it's the one I want. npm install Axios. And I'm going to get rid of that. And we're going to copy all this here. Actually, we got to copy all this into resources. I paste this in here. You see we get hello world function. We're going to do shipments function. Actually, you know what? I lied. I'm going to do get shipments function. The real serverless approach to this would be to create an individual Lambda function for every single one of your requests, which I've heard can be a little bit of a pain in the ass to try and manage. But I don't know. We'll try. I guess we need to change this to get shipments. Get shipments. Or you know what? I guess I probably don't. I probably can do shipments like that. I'm gonna get rid of this hello world garbage because I don't need that. Actually, I will need that. I lied because I'm gonna use that as a reference to create my function. Okay, so we can go into template.yaml, shipments, app.lambda handler. I'm gonna say app.lambda get like that. So, because that's what we're gonna create. And then in our events, hello world, no, we're gonna get shipments here and API and path shipments. And we'll say get. If this gets a little too complex, what we're gonna use, I might end up using what's called a proxy method or a proxy handler, which basically means that anything that's inside of shipments and anything that covers after that, it's gonna handle like the whole deal. But this is good to at least get started. So I'm gonna come into my app.js and I'm just gonna copy this over to shipments, and now I can delete this. I guess I could have just moved it, but anyway. So you can see inside of our Lambda handler, I'm gonna get rid of all this stuff too, because I don't want any of that. I don't need a response, don't need any of that. I will need Axios in a moment, but you can see inside of our Lambda handler, it's pretty straightforward. So we're gonna define let response here. So you have an event that comes in, and the event is it's an object that AWS is going to pass in from API gateway, because we're using an API. Now, you could use there's tons of different events you can use to trigger Lambda functions inside of AWS, which is what makes them really powerful. So like if you have a message on a queue, you can have a queue, an SQS queue hooked up to a Lambda handler or Lambda function, so when a message comes in, it triggers the Lambda function to process and handle that message, which that would be a serverless approach to an application. You can also set it up so this way if say somebody uploads a file to an S3 bucket, this is a good example and something they actually put on the exam. Like if you wanted to like resize an image or create a bunch of thumbnails or something, you know, just do different things all with an image or a file of some kind, right? You can actually set up a function or you can wire a Lambda function up to an upload event for S3, so when a file comes in, it will parse that file and just do something with it, resize, create a thumbnail, and then save it alongside S3 all at the same time. And that is, again, kind of the serverless approach, because you don't have, I mean, there's servers underneath it, but you're not actually standing up and managing your own servers. There are no Docker containers, there are no like VMs or EC2 instances or, you know, DigitalOcean droplets, Azure VMs, whatever. It's like, it's all just like, it's the platform handles it all. And then the context is just some information about the actual Lambda function itself. I think you can access, I don't know what you can access from the context, actually. I totally forgot. It's been a while since I've done this, but anyway, let's save this and test this. Actually, I need exports.get because get is what I'm using. Yeah, so I could use get, and then what I can do is I'll do like, you know, I'll come in here and I'll say like another one of my functions can use, you know, be post. So if somebody's sending a shipment into the API, the post handler can handle that. As long as it's set up like this, where you have the async, you can even do this with callbacks too. I think you can do, if you didn't want to do async, or if you're not comfortable with it, you get event, context, and callback, and the callback is what's executed afterwards, I think. I don't know, it's been a while since I've done this, but as long as you set it up to accept an event and a context, and then you can wire that up to the handler, you're good to go. So we can actually even leave that the way that it is. So let's test, let's actually switch over to our SAM CLI. I'm gonna kill this job and we're gonna start it back up. The only time, it's gonna freak out because I got rid of this, because we can get rid of this now. The only time you need to restart this is if you edit this template.yaml file. But if you edit the code at all, I did notice when I was playing around with this over the weekend that it will take those changes and run with them. Like, you don't have to redo your app, which is pretty cool. So see, we got here our get shipments function is at that API. So now I can come in here. See, here's a get. Our host name is localhost 3000 and shipments. I send that. I got to get here, and then here's my hello world. Here's the message that got sent back. So now I'm gonna set up. We're gonna set up .env, which is a package that lets you manage environment variables locally. It looks at a .env file and pulls them in, because I'm gonna need some keys and stuff in here. So npm install .env. I'm going to save dev this, actually, because I don't need this in production. Yeah, I don't know. So that's installed. Let's go in our app.js file. Let's see, if not process.env node underscore env equals production. Basically, if it's not in production, which is what we're at right now, I'm gonna do require. Dude, this code's freaking out and giving me all sorts of bad suggestions. Require .env .config, like that. So now if I go in here and I say I want a new file, .env, and we're going to look at, I think inside of my API back, I got all my environment variables here. So all this stuff, this is all test stuff, so it's not a big deal. But we're gonna move this over into here, .env file, and we'll need to rejigger this a little bit. Can I do H? Control find and replace. H, replace it with nothing. Replace all, and we want to replace colon with an equals sign. Replace all those. Actually, no, we want to do replace it with space equals. Like that. Actually, I guess no, we wouldn't. We'd want to do regular equals, because we're going to want to then go back and clear out. I actually don't need this Mongo, because we're not going to use Mongo for this. We're going to go all native DynamoDB, baby. Not today, but we'll eventually get there. So now I've got easy post key. Easy post is the API we're going to use to validate addresses and shipments and stuff. And then we have our Stripe key. Actually, I might be able to set up address validation today. That'd be kind of cool. Okay, so now inside of our get, I actually really don't care about shipments. I'm going to set up an addresses API. So new folder, addresses, and we'll say file. No, hold on. CD addresses. Y npm install axios.env. And actually, also what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder called shared. There's some helper stuff that I want to put in here. So new file helpers.js. We'll say exports .handle.env equals function. We don't need to actually pass anything in here. And I'm going to look at I might do this another time. I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to do it another time, because what I'll probably end up doing is I'm going to create a shared npm package that when I do npm install... No, that'll work. No, that'll work. Okay, so if I go to... Actually, we're just going to rename this to index.js. So we have a main entry point. So we'll cd to shipments. Diamond says 37 minutes till sunrise. You're a trooper. I'm really surprised you stayed up for this, but I do appreciate it. I really do. We'll do npm init y npm install install.env, and I can do let's see, module.exports handle.env if not process stuff. All right, we're gonna get rid of this, pull this in here like that. Nope, what did I do? Like that guy there. I think this will work. cd to addresses, and we'll do npm install file : / shared. Okay, so now we have a local package we're referencing. Addresses, make sure that looks the right way. Yeah, so that should be fine. Let's do npm. I think we can get rid of the npm uninstall.env. Because really, .env is only going to be needed when we're not in production. When we deploy these things out to Lambda, we're going to set up environment variables directly in Lambda. All right, let's set up this thing so we can do a post addresses. Post addresses. I guess we do, yeah, post addresses function. Maybe validate addresses. Code URI is going to be addresses like that. The handler is going to be app.validate addresses. App.post. Post addresses function, and we'll do post addresses minus the function here. So this, once we restart our API, yep, restart it. I tried wiring up NodeMon with this, and it doesn't really seem to like it. It doesn't recognize SAM as an executable, so something with my pathing is not working the right way. But yeah, whatever. Well, that's another minor thing that I could tackle at another time. But I have my two endpoints here. So let's copy. Actually, let's copy both of these up in here. Copy. No, not the shipments. Damn it. Hold on. Stop it. Notice my VS Code is really funky with just deleting stuff. Delete. No, addresses. Yeah, on delete shipments. Yeah, get rid of that. And myself. All right. Whatever. Move there. Move there. We'll leave that. I'll clean it up later. So got my environment variables. Let's see. I want to import fire. Like that. So this should call that function. And if we're not in production, because we haven't set our node env variable here, it should import this guy. Otherwise, it won't, because the .env is saved as a development dependency. I think that's how that works. So post will say response JSON stringify message post addresses. I think that's what I set it up as, right? App.post, yeah. Right. Postman, let's test it. addresses. Let's create a new, add a request. Post addresses. Change that to, actually, let's copy this. I like copying and pasting as much as I possibly can. I'd rather not have to type things. Addresses, we'll change this to a post, save it, send it. Okay, got a message back, so we made sure we're working. Shipments we're going to close. Actually, I'm going to close all these instead of... What am I doing? npm installing up there. So we're gonna address is npm install. I got Axios, so we can acquire Axios. That's right. Let const Axios. Axios. Let's look up some easy post documentation. Treat your API keys. Yeah, that's fine. Addresses. Where's, you know, I don't want a guide. I guess guide. Address verification. Here we go. Easy Post, API easypost.com, v2 addresses. All right, so const easy post base URL. That we can get rid of. Yeah, I guess we can leave that right there. Change it to that. And we don't want to do get. We can get rid of get, but we can. Oh, stop it. Response. We want to try. Let's see. Let address equals, let's look up good old Willis Tower. That guy there. So let's see, address, let's see what the format's supposed to look like, because I forget. Verify, let's just copy all this stuff in here. So it looks like the user is a base 64 encoded user. The API key is base 64 encoded username without a password. Okay. I'm going to copy all this for reference. Dee, copy that. Come back into VS Code. All right, so our address is going to be that guy there. Let's comment that out and let's do, let's see, address is street 1 is set to this guy here. And street 2 we don't care about. City is equal to, they did, oh no, they didn't change this. It's Square's address API is a little funky. I do remember that. City is Chicago. State is Illinois. And zip is 60606. Looks like that's a number. I don't know if that matters. Country is US. We're gonna put this inside a number. Just make that a string too. Okay, so that should be our address object we need to use. I don't know if these other fields are required. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they probably are not. But verify. say verify an address. So now if the way I like to set up Axios is I used to do const Axios or options. So options equals method. You know this. Hold on a second. I'm gonna close this, and these 4 spaces for JavaScript are killing me. Indent, re-indent lines. There we go. Clean things up a little bit. So there's our address. Our method is going to be post. Our URL is going to be base URL. Auth, then I think it's auth like that. And username is going to be process.env. Process.env. What did I say? Easy post key. Like that. Our password is going to be just blank string. And finally, our data, which I don't know why they call it data. I would have thought they'd call it body, but they call it data. Body is going to be a new object, and we're going to go with verify. It's going to be delivery. And then we'll just pass in our address object like that. So let's test this out. So let's see, let Axios response equals await Axios, and then pass in our options. And then for this, let's just send back Axios response.data, because that should be the body of the response from Axios's request. Else we'll console log the error and return the error, return the response. Excuse me. All right, so I don't think we need to refresh our API since that's there. Let's try and post again. It shouldn't matter what we send in right now. So post. Internal server error, bad gateway. Oh, that's interesting. Python post addresses. That looks funky. Lambda return empty body. Gateway response stack message request failed with status 401. Oh, I wonder if it did. I wonder if my little helper thing didn't work. Yeah, because if it's a 401, that's an unauthorized, which means that likely my API key didn't work. So let's do console.log. I'm going to make a bet that's what's going on here. Send that again. And 401. Yeah, this right here is the line that's showing that's undefined. So it's not importing in. It's not importing in my .env like I was hoping it would. So we'll say require. env is installed there. Let's just npm install.env into our addresses API for the sake of just testing things out. Oh no, I don't want to cancel that. Oh, it cancels it anyway. I don't understand that. Actually, I see this all the time where it says like, you want to terminate the batch job? And you say no, and it's like, all right, killed it anyway. Killed it anyway. npm install.env. And then I'm gonna just comment that out because I want to get back to it again. But require .env config like so. That should pull that in now. Let's actually go back into our SAM CLI. Send this again to see what we get. Invoking blah blah blah. Got a 422, which is better. Okay, so there's our easy post key. So the key is now being pulled in. 422 is probably a bad request, though. I wonder if I need a JSON stringify our body. Let us look for clues in here. Sometimes if you look through the response, you'll actually see what caused it to fail. Well, that didn't help. But you know what we can do is we can send this directly to Easy Post API because we got Postman. So let's actually, I'm going to scrape some information from this here. So there's our data. We can grab everything inside of here. I'm going to move this over to the side here. And we're going to create a new collection here. Easy Post. Add request. Okay, post body. Let's see, authorization is going to be basic, and we don't need that. We don't need that. Raw JSON. Paste that guy in. Okay, there's our JSON. Okay, we'll need to grab. I've got the URL here. Post the URL there. And our username, which is our API key, say like that. Now let's save this and send it and see what happens. Okay, address parameters invalid. Parameter must be passed. Create an address for missing or invalid. All right, so I wonder if this actually whole thing needs to be an array like that. Send that. And that was our issue right there. See, now we got back an object, which is great. So yeah, since it's validating addresses, that would make sense that we need to pass it addresses. All right, so let's go back to VS Code and let's update this. So we're sending inside of our data. Which I'm gonna do like let post body equals a new array. And we'll create a new object, and then this, actually we're just going to copy and paste this in here. So this technically is an array. And we'll say post body. Okay, save that. Now let's test this locally. Okay, got our address back. This was went through. It's interesting. Everything came back null, which I don't quite understand. Street 1. Now we can do a get addresses, or get address, I think. To https://api.easypost.com/v2/address. I think I can do this. Basic. Actually, you know what? On Easy Post, we'll modify this collection and we will just make all of them basic auth with that. And now we can do inherit. So let's return the address object. It's just so interesting that it's not returning any of the data with it. No verifications, no nothing. It's just saying, you know. I'm curious. I want to bring this guy up here. Like that. And let's put that inside of an array and see if it likes that better. So it creates the address, but it still doesn't verify it. I gotta take a look at what I was doing before. Well, no, I was using the API. I was using let's look at something else we got here. So yeah, I could use the library that they provide, but I sometimes I hesitate using libraries because I know how to work with APIs directly. So it's like, and I don't know if their implementation is gonna cause some kind of weird errors, but then again, it is theirs implementation working with their API, so I don't know that it would necessarily be the worst thing in the world. I'm gonna try one more time. Hear birds tweeting. Yeah, it's getting pretty late over here too. I was getting early by you. You got a hell of a day starting. See, that worked. Why did that work? Verify. Okay, so here we go. This is what we're doing. But you know, I'm curious. Why did it say we need an array earlier, yet it works now not being an array? Maybe it's just because I had the data formatted improperly. Let's try that. Yeah, see, that returns null. That's weird. Like, I gotta validate addresses one at a time. I would have expected if it's addresses that it would have actually just returned it. You know, you'd be able to send it because it's like 3 separate API requests. All right, well, in any case, I would like to get this up in AWS. So let's try and wrap this up and deploy it out there. I'm at 3.5 hours. This is a lot longer than I was planning on going. So let's change our body. So address is actually fine just the way that it is, but we need to say verify, and we'll open a bracket and we'll say delivery like that. I'll get rid of that, and we can just pass in the address like that. Save it. I don't need that console log there anymore. Let's go into Postman. We'll test this one more time and make sure it works. Okay, that looks good. So now we want to, instead of using address, let's get rid of this, and we'll say let address equals event dot body. Actually, you know what? We're gonna try something a little bit interesting here. So let's get rid of that. And I think it's the event, but I don't remember exactly what it is. I think I had a JSON stringify the event, so let's just return the event like that. So I don't know if I send a post this, I'm not gonna get any of this address data back, but using this trick, you can see exactly what this entire event object looks like. You can even see you got some of the stuff from Cognito, authentication type, identity pool ID, etc. Pretty cool. Request context is not what we're looking for. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, it's this right here. So this body is null. We haven't passed anything in. But if I go to body and I pass in, let's see, raw, JSON. And let's grab from here, because that's what we plan on passing into this thing. Although I might modify this to be able to pass in multiple addresses, and then just handle them using multiple asynchronous requests. All right, so now we're post. So if I send that, yeah, if you look at, zoom in a little bit on this. This guy right here is what we want, but it's in a stringified format, so we'll need to parse that first. So now if I instead go, let's just get rid of, I want to keep that. I want to get rid of all this, and instead I'm going to do json.parse. Actually, can I just, nah, I have json.parse. Do event.body like that. So now I can pass this in, and let's send it just like this. So I think this should work. I got a 200 OK. Let's try that again, actually. I need JSON. Axios response.data. I forgot. Send. Internal server error. I'm betting it doesn't like this. Let's just pass in the event.body as is. No? Okay, what's going on? $422 is a bad request. Console.log out our address. Okay, that's still got a bad deal. Now I can at least see in the logs what my object looks like. 422, so it's still bad request. It doesn't like something. Oh, why did it log out like that? Oh, I'm stringifying the stringify parse. That's the thing that happens when I start getting tired, is I start making really silly mistakes like that. Alright, send it again. Alright. Got something. Okay, so I think this works. So this is taking the exact same format that EasyPost expects it to, which we might normalize that, and it sends it across to their API, creates the address object that has the delivery verified, so we know that this address is able to be delivered to. Yeah, I think we're in good shape. I think we're in good shape. So, I think I lied. I don't think I'm going to deploy this out today. I think I'm going to deploy it out today. Let's save our progress, though. Okay, so let's come in here and say, let's see, number 99, I think we were working with. I created basic API for AWS. So we didn't do the basic shipments API, but we got the basic addresses API. So I will accept that, I think, as being fine. And we're going to sync up. But we need to modify our release pipeline. We need to actually modify. The job is being put up. No, we need to modify our build pipeline for the API, because we're currently zipping everything, and we don't want to zip everything. So like our working directory now is actually gonna be addresses, but we're gonna need to do a couple of these things here, because we need to do we'll need to do, instead of shared first, because we're going to use shared as our kind of underlying. If we need shared code between the different functions, we're going to put it in shared, and then after that, addresses is going to be the thing. And then we're going to, instead of zipping up the API, we're going to do API/addresses. And we're going to name this build ID _addresses. There's got to be a better way to do this, but I don't really know what it is right now. So we're just making these changes, and we'll probably end up coming back and doing that. So this is going to install our modules in both the shared project, or the shared NPM project package, and the addresses package, which contains our actual API. We're going to put that inside of we're going to take it, we're going to archive it, zip it up, and then we're going to toss it up into this drop folder. Artifact name, I guess we're going to change this to addresses, like that. See, the artifact's got to be shared between the thing. I don't really know what to do with this one, honestly. Maybe that will work, because I think there's going to, even if there's multiple artifacts, I think we can have multiple artifacts for this, and we'll just name that addresses like that. Okay, so let's save this and run it. We don't need to run the UI. I don't really care about the UI. Let's run this pipeline. Make sure we don't have any issues. And while that is cranking along, I do know I'm going to come into releases. API release, we're going to edit this. I'm not going to completely remove this, but I am going to disable it, because I want to come back to using CloudFormation. And we're going to go Lambda. And Lambda deploy. We're going to deploy the addresses API, so let's use SVC2. Our region is going to be US East 2. That's what we've been using so far. Update code and configuration or create a new function. Our function will be Enviari. It's just the post addresses. Let's go post addresses. I just got a notification the build succeeded, so that's cool. Function handler is app.get or app.post, I think. And the runtime is going to be node 12. Code look a zip file in the work area. So we're not going to push it up to S3 yet, but I have an addresses and I have a 33 addresses. We can replace this 33 with that build ID. So we'll say build.build ID like that. So going forward, this is going to automatically update. I guess you know what? I can't change this to drop. I'm going to change that. It's going to go back to drop, because I can I'll upload multiple zip files into there, so that's fine. Role or ARN name. We'll say Enviari. Let's see, Lambda role. And I suspect this is going to, I know this is going to fail initially. See, this is where I'm saying we're going to set those environment variables. So now, see, when we pushed up our code up into up into Azure DevOps. We didn't pull in that .env file. That's part of my excludes or my git ignores, just because I don't want this up here, because this will eventually this may eventually contain production data, and then like when I create another stage for production, I'll have these values replaced with the actual production values that they should be. But we need to set that there for now. Let's save this. Okay, I'm gonna go back into IAM, and we're gonna update our policy yet again. Add service, Lambda. Whatever, just do it all for now. Any save. Any save. Save. My credentials for this account better not get out, because if I do, by the time I'm done building this thing, it will have free reign on the entire AWS account. Okay, policy defines some actions that conditions do not provide permissions. Yeah, I'm just gonna save this. All right, so my guy should have its policy. Let's go back into Azure DevOps and create a release and see what happens. Clickety clickety, access denied. Is not authorized to perform IAM git role on resource Enviari Lambda role. X, it's a new role. I'm going to shortcut this by actually creating my Lambda function manually, because it's going to prompt me to create a role as well. So Lambda. Say create function, author from scratch, Enviari. Post addresses. Node 12, create an execution role. Just going to create a function. And it looks like this is the role name. So let's go back into Azure DevOps and just paste in this role name it's going to create for me. Edit pipeline. The role, by the way, is the identity that the Lambda function is going to assume within AWS. So if you need to, like if the Lambda function needs access to other resources within AWS, they're going to use roles and not security accounts or an account with keys and IDs like we've been using to build this. So that's what this is for. I just felt like clarifying. Sun is up and there's a thick mist. Time to go out there and start getting them clients, Diamond. Amazon bracket. It's a new one. Amazon comes out with all sorts of weird names for their tech. Okay, so successfully been created. So we don't have to worry about create or deploy, but I still am going to need to do the get IAM for that policy. So again, update the policy. Don't think they appreciate a door knock on 5 p.m. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Policy. Add more about IAM. So I know I just want to read, and it actually told me I want to get role, and the role I want, this is the least privileged thing that I was talking about that we should do. Role name with path. So that guy. Let's try this now. Other release. See, this is how I used to do my Lambda function releases back when I started working with this stuff. My ongoing excuse is it has been a while, and I'm still trying to reacquaint myself with a lot of this stuff, but it's working pretty good so far. Let's go. We're up in AWS, right? How about get some orange going on? So we failed with the same error. So you know my my heavy-handed approach means I'm going to come in here and just give it access to everything, right? Because I don't... because security is hard. Exactly why. One of my podcasts I haven't listened to in a while, but I used to, is called Security Now, and that was Steve Gibson's the host of the podcast, and that was like one of his... That was one of his I guess famous phrase he used to use. Is just like security is hard, and it is. It's there's a lot to it. It really is. All right, so back in here, let's try and do this again. Can I just deploy this one? Deployment attempt 2. Oh, that's easy. It's convenient. I didn't actually know you could do that. Just re-queue the same thing. This is interesting. Okay, so I think something's going on with Azure DevOps with this. Because look at this. The initialized job succeeded, but for some reason, it thinks it took a day and 7 hours. So if it's creating that signature with a timestamp of the signature expired 2020-06-16 is now earlier than 2020-06-18. I think something's going on with Azure DevOps. I think something's broke on their end that's causing this to not work, because this is... Yeah, the plot thickens. Yeah, this is weird. I just kind of almost want to try this again. What's that saying go? Like, definition of an insane person is someone who tries the same thing twice and expects a different result. Well, call me insane then. Yeah, initialize job 10 seconds. Just refresh. 2 seconds. See, look at that. It's this 2 seconds. I got a different error though. Access denied. Another IAM pass roll. Whatever. Okay. That is weird. Edit policy. IAM. Yeah, this is a bad idea. I'm not giving this thing full access to IAM. That I know is a bad idea. Because IAM is kind of like the backbone of AWS. Like if someone has full access to IAM, that means that they basically have access to manage all the security for an entire AWS account. And granted this is a completely new empty environment that I set up solely for streaming. I still do not want to be concerned in the middle of the night of somebody getting these keys and running up my bill, because I still have to pay it, even though I'm on a free tier. Meaning they only give you so much for free. And then you're kind of screwed and they make you pay a buttload of money for everything. I didn't unmute. I unmuted myself. All right, so I updated it again based on what they're saying they need. So let's try again. I set out to do a 2-hour stream, and I'm approaching 3 hours right now. It's not a complaint. See, look at this. Initialize job right away. 1 day, 6 hours, and 30 minutes. Something is really jacked up on their end. Started on June 16th? No way. This is going to fail for that same reason, because it's something's broke. Part of me almost wonders. Yeah, that's cool. Thanks. I appreciate you sticking around, man. Diamond's in my Discord group server thing. Him and I chat almost daily, man. It's for a while now. But yeah, I appreciate you stopping by, Diamond. You have yourself a good day now, not even night. Take care. Okay. Did I even save my changes? I didn't. I just came in here and clicked around stuff, and I don't even think I saved it. All right. Yeah, actually, I'm gonna quit too. I'll figure out what's going on with all this, and I'll get all this deployment stuff rolled out by next week's stream. So, for those of you who joined and who are still around, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time tonight, and yeah, I hope you learned some stuff and got some enjoyment out of it. I'll be back again next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central Time. We're going to continue working on this, although there's a good chance I will make some progress before then. So, with that said, my name is Brian Morrison. If you're interested in speaking with me directly on a more frequent basis, you can hop in my Discord, brianmm.chat. In your URL is the best way to get to it. Otherwise, you know, you find me on Discord, BrianMML2. I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place. But yeah, I mean, leave a comment below, and I will sure reach out. Actually, you know what? Here you go. There's a link to the Discord in the description below. I know that. I added it. It is there. So feel free to join up there. If not, I will see you next week. Enjoy the rest of the content on my channel. I put out 1 to 2 videos weekly. So yeah, I'll catch you next week. Have a good night. Bye-bye.